that talked about Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, or I'm sorry, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish's son. And we talked about how this whole story of Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. And what we find in our Gemara is that Rabbi Yochanan was constantly asking this child, like, what did you learn, right? He said, what was the words he said? He said, "Psukli psukecha," tell me the pasuk that you, Emali psukecha, tell me your pasuk. So it's interesting. There's a Gemara that there are two other Gemaras. One of the Gemaras is a Gemara in Chulin that let me just pull it up over here. The Gemara over there mentions that Rabbi Yochanan, Shmuel, and Rav all had their ways of they had their ways of doing things. So let me just pull it up here, 95b. So it says, Rav would check about travel based on the ferry. If it came quickly, he would take a ferry, and otherwise he wouldn't take a ferry. Shmuel would check what would happen to him by opening up a scroll and reading from wherever it opened to. Rabbi Yochanan would check what's in store for him by asking a child to recite the verse that he was studying. So these three rabbis, they didn't, obviously didn't do this. They didn't transgress whatever the Torah tells us of not, using magic, but they did have ways of figuring out, or they had a way of that they would make decisions based on assuming that Hashem wants, they would have their understanding of this is what's meant for them. So Rav used to just rely on the fact if the ferry came quickly, then he would take that ferry. He thought that was an omen, that was a sign that he's supposed to take it. Shmuel used to open up a Torah scroll and see something, which is very interesting because a lot of Lubavitchers do they open up one of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's books of letters, and they would understand from that to be a message for them. So this seems to be following Shmuel. Shmuel, it says, Badik Besifra, he would check a sefer. Rabbi Yochanan would check with asking a child, tell me what you learned in Cheder. And if the child said a pasuk, a verse that sounded positive, then Rabbi Yochanan would know, something good is happening. And if the child said a pasuk that said something negative, he would know, Rabbi Yochanan would know not to do that, not to go there. So this fits with our Gemara, but there is an additional Gemara that's also connected to this, and that is that it says that when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the prophecy was taken from the prophets and was given to people who are fools and people who are and children. That prophecy was taken away from the scholars. Miyom shacharav Beis Hamikdash. Let me pull it up over here. It's a Gemara in Baba Basra. It says, from the day that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, nitla navua min hanaviyim. One second. It was taken away from the prophets and it was given to fools and children. And who says this? Rabbi Yochanan. So what Rabbi Yochanan basically holds is that children have an element of prophecy in what they say. So so what would Rabbi Yochanan do? Rabbi Yochanan would ask a child to say a verse, and then he would know what was meant for him. What do you mean? What's he gaining by asking a child? Because prophecy was taken away from the prophets and was given to the children. So that's the two Gemaras that are connected to this Gemara. Another interesting thing is that our Gemara said a person should take Meiser. It is very interesting. There is a Gemara that says that there are 10 rulers over the person: the 2 eyes, the 2 ears, the 2 nostrils, the mouth, and the private organ. And based on that, one of the commentaries says that the reason we do the bris is because that's an element of taking Meiser. It's an element of taking 1/10 and using it for Hashem. So it's an interesting concept where we're taking 1/10 of our entire being, so to speak. We're taking a 1/10 of our powers and we're giving it over. In other words, this concept of Meiser doesn't just apply to money, doesn't just apply to produce, but there is an element of giving a tithe. And that's what I was mentioning yesterday about giving a tithe of your time, even to learn with people that are weaker than you. There is such a concept. So there is an element in Meiser that also could be connected to the concept of having a circumcision. Now, the idea of Meiser, again, our Gemara was a little vague. To what extent do we take it? In other words, we've learned that there's a lot of commentaries that discuss this. Taking Meiser will make you rich. You're allowed to test Hashem. Does that apply to all types of Meiser, or just produce, or all types of income, or does it apply to any type of charity, or does it only apply to taking your tithe? So we had all that discussion. That was the topic of the last two days of learning. But then we also talked about the Gemara brought down about Matar, rain is for an individual, and Parnasa is for a group of people. And that we also explained that that rain, well, Hashem could cause it to rain even if it's just for one person, but for Parnasa, Hashem is not going to provide, is not going to make a change of things unless it's for a group of people. And the Gemara is going to continue on that with discussing that and getting into other topics as well. Another thing that the Gemara talked about was Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam, how all of their the
cloud and the rain,
the clouds,
the rain,
clouds of glory, the manna, and the well of Mary, the well. They were all in the merit of these three great leaders, and that seemed to contradict what we said, that Parnasa only comes for a group. We see that Parnasa, like the manna, the sustenance, the man that we had in the desert, that came in the merit of Moshe, not in the merit of a lot of people. Gemara answered that Moshe Rabbeinu was basically asking for everyone; it wasn't for himself, and therefore that was considered that that it was for a group. It wasn't just for himself. Yes, David.
You were talking about Igros Kodesh and looking in the Sefer. So the Rebbe spoke about this in 1989, and the Rebbe said it's a Jewish custom from ancient tradition when they would want to clarify how to conduct themselves in something that's permissible. they would clarify the topic. So they would open up a holy sefer, and in a place where the sefer opened, which is by Hashkacha Pratis, this is all the Rebbe's words. They would find a sign and they would resolve how to conduct themselves in actuality. And they explained it since the sefer was open to such and such a verse, that this is a siman b'shamayim. It's a sign from heaven that this is Hashem's will, that the person should act in such a manner. So the Rebbe specifically talked about this in 1989 when they start to publicize Igros Kodesh and the Rebbe's volumes of letters, so that in preparation for when the Rebbe was not able to answer and speak, this was already something that the Rebbe spoke about publicly.
Right, but I'm telling you, it's even a Gemara.
Right, but I'm saying that the Rebbe
explained that it has to do with Hashkacha Pratis. I understand.
Right.
I'm just telling you that it's actually in the Gemara. It's
it's
a great source.
No, what I'm saying is it's in the Gemara, but the Rebbe hadn't spoken about this until 1989.
Okay. I mean, but the thing is, Hasidim used to do it in Russia even before. They used to open up a Tanya. It wasn't.
Right.
It's not the first finding of it. It's the truth is it's not only a Lubavitch custom. It's really it's known from the Vilna Gaon, that he used to do this. He used to open up Torah 7 times, and the 7th time he would follow whatever it said. He would count 7 verses, 7 chapters or something, and then he would follow whatever it said. And people used to rely on this type of thing. There's a famous joke about it where someone is running very low on money, goes to his rabbi, he says, "I don't know what to do. I don't have any money." He says, "Listen, go take a chumash and open it up, and you'll see what God tells you." So he opens up the chumash. So the next time he sees the rabbi, he's holding a big thick wad of $100 bills. So the rabbi says, "What happened? How did you all of a sudden make it so wealthy?" He says, "I did what you told me. You told me to open up a chumash." So he says, "So what did you find?" He says, "I opened up to chapter 11.
Very funny. There's a story. They came to ask the bracha. I think it was from the Retiree Rebbe, a bracha for the Alter Rebbe, and they couldn't remember the Alter Rebbe's mother's name. And the Retiree Rebbe Levi Yitzchok, he opened up a sefer, and it said they found shever. It was corn. They found corn in Egypt, and it was Shneur ben Rivka.
Yeah. Anyway, bottom line is, but I'm just saying, there's a Gemara for it. So it's an interesting. It's a broad in Shulchan Aruch, this concept of asking a child, even about so the child is also an interesting thing. Asking a child, what pasuk did you learn? It's discussed in Shulchan Aruch, because these things seem to be they seemingly should be prohibited to do, because they are sort of touching on type of sorcery, but. It's brought in Shulchan Aruch that it's okay. Yes, Ruvain, did you want to say something?
Yes. I'm stuck on this Brit Miller that that you're saying that it's like an offer. It's if you pick your fruits and you're gonna bring them for your to the best mikdash, you're not gonna take the worst fruits to bring there. You're gonna take the best fruits. I mean, the Brit Miller is getting rid of something that. A foreskin that everybody gets rid of, even the goyim in the hospital, getting off. I don't know if you ever saw one. I don't know if you ever saw one that has it. It is the ugliest thing.
Thank you. Okay. Well, whatever it is, the concept of 10 things that rule over a person.
So how can we say
brought such a concept? What?
Yeah, but how can we say that we that's something that we take off us? To the 10th of something that we
it's a bris.
Yeah, but it's a foreskin. I mean, give a finger. Give something good. Not an apple that fell off the tree a week ago.
So the thing is that according to Rambam writes in the Guide to the Perplexed, he says that the source of all of our desires, the lust, the energy, is in that skin. It's like a very powerful skin. So when you're giving that to Hashem, you're actually giving away a very powerful element of power, of strength, and that is being given to Hashem. And I'll take it a step further, because it's brought down a very interesting concept in a certain in Sfarim. They bring this down that if you look at the bracha of a bris milah, what's the bracha when the moyel does the bris? He says, bracha Hashem Elokeinu melech, and then he says a bracha of that kel chai chelkenu tzarenu tzave Yeshuais Yaakov Save that Laman Bris Chasha Sam Bipsarenu Baruch Hashem Kodesh Habris. So he says a whole interesting long paragraph, which I don't have in front of me, that basically asking Hashem for like a certain merit in the merit of our bris, that Hashem should bring salvation in the merit of our bris. Here, let me just pull it up here. I'll bris birchas bris milah. Just pull up the exact wording. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Let me tell you the bracha. Asher kidesh yedid mi beten, he made the child holy. V'choik b'she'eroi sam, he put a statute in his in him. V'tzetzov chasam b'reis b'skodesh. His children, in other words, Avram's children, he chasam, he stamped with the ois bris. Al kain b'schar zeh b'schar zois. Therefore, in the merit of this, kel chai chelkenu tzarenu, Hashem, the God, living God, our portion, our rock, talking about Hashem. Tzave lahatzel yedida she'reinu mishachas. Command that our remnants should be saved from destruction. Laman brisa, in the merit of the bris. So we're asking Hashem for like a reward in the merit of the bris. Really, you want a reward? You're not supposed to ask for rewards. So you know why? Because when it comes to Meiser, you're allowed to ask for rewards. That was our Gemara. So the reason why you're allowed to ask for a reward, this very interesting insight mentioned by one of the commentaries. He says, you know why you're allowed to ask for a reward? Because actually there are 10 things. It says asara shlitin ba'adam. There are 10 things that rule over the person, and the eyes, the ears, the nostrils. I forget, and the mouth, and the organ, and this is and so now you're doing Meiser. You're separating it for Hashem. You could ask Hashem. You can test Hashem. You can ask him for a reward, so to speak. This is like the exception to the rule. So this would be that. So that's an explanation to it. Obviously not everyone maybe agrees with that, but that there is such an insight. Yes, David.
My Rosh Yeshiva was telling me that when the Chachamim were devising the wording of the benching, there was a discussion whether they should include Ba'al Bris Chasam T'Visarenu for women, because women don't have a bris. You follow? So, and they concluded that they should say it because their husband to be has a bris, and that includes them.
Is that the reason? I thought it's because a woman that doesn't have the foreskin. So she's like she had the bris because that doesn't have the foreskin. No, they didn't say that.
Rabbi Goldberg told me it's because
Okay.
she was
Because the husband?
included in the other half of her neshama as the husband, and therefore she's exempt from the bris. She's included with this bris chashasam to be serena. Because her husband to be, the other half of the neshama, is going to have it, and therefore she should say it.
Okay, very nice, very nice. Okay, so in any event, that's a little insight. Okay, so listen, I try to give you the more than just what the Gemara says, give you a little some of the commentaries and insights. Hope you enjoy it. Now, just to go over the final, so we spoke about the fact that all three, it says, died in the same month. Well, how did all three of these great people die in the same month? We know they didn't. We know Miriam passed away on the 10th of Nisan, and Aaron passed away on the 1st of Menachem Av, and Moshe Rabbeinu passed away on the 7th of Adar. So what does it mean they all passed away in the same month? Because Moshe Rabbeinu ended up being the source to give the well, the man, and the Anane covered. They were all in his merit. So when he passed away, they all ended. So all of their merits, all of the thing that they was in their merit, it ended in 1 month, basically. So that was the Nisbatlu Gimel Matanis Toivos. These three great gifts ended in 1 month, and so the Gemara. So that was that discussion of Moshe Rabbeinu being the source of the man. The Gemara answered that the Rabbim Hu Ba'i, because he's asking for the community, therefore it's considered to be for a community, not for him. It's for a.
Well, I have a question.
Yes, Ezra.
So I went back and I looked at the Yoshua pick. Hey, the pasuk is either 11 or 12, and there Beferish it says that on the following day the man stopped, and this is already when after they had celebrated Pesach, over the Jordan. So,
but doesn't it mean it ended from what they had saved? That's not what it means.
No. It said it stopped. Period.
And the commentaries don't say anything over there.
Well, there's one person who basically, it ended on the day that he passed away, etc. But the others don't. The fact is that it's written beferush that it stopped.
Well, which parak was this? Hey, parak hey.
Hey, it's either pasuk 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Because it bothered me, the fact that I remembered that I read this. So why would it say what it says, and then all of a sudden, everybody else is giving commentaries on it.
So Rashi says over there, from the 7th of Adar that Moshe Rabbeinu passed away and the man ended, they were hayu mistapkin ad achshav miman shebekleihem.
I understand that.
They from shaloktu b'shiva ba'adar, from whatever they collected on the 7th of Adar, as it says, as haman achlu arbaim shana, it says they ate man 40 years, but there's 40 years is missing 30 days because it started on the 15th of Iyar and it ended. So Emer Meyato, so we say from here, Talmud Tamman. So it must be that the charara, that the food that they took out. One second.
I should have used a different term.
So in other words, the first the beginning of the 40 years, they relied on what they took, and then till the 15th of Iyar. And then from the Zion Adar, they were mistapik until now with whatever they had that they collected on the 7th of Adar. So Rashi seems to say it clearly. And Pasuk Yud Aleph. Did you see that, Rashi?
Thought that Rashi, but I'm saying is that why use
Why
that
did the pasuk after?
terminology where
Oh,
it
so
says
you're
stopped?
bothered with you're
Yeah.
bothered with pasuk yud base by Yishbais Haman, which
indicates that up until that point it was still being provided and that it stopped on that day.
yeah,
The
it
term
sounds
Vaishbot is a problem.
uh-huh. It does sound a little let's see, one second. So there is a Gemara that seems to ask a question on this. I wonder if that's the question.
I mean, it's something for you to look at. I don't want to stop the class.
Right. All right. In any event, it's an interesting question. Based on that pasuk, we'll have to look up in Yeshua. But Rashi does say it, so it seems like we what we said was correct. The only question is how to fit it in the pasuk. Okay. So anyway, the next Gemara talked about it talked about Rav Huna, these three rabbis who were studying by Rav Papa, and not everything that he said did they seem to agree with. But he was getting insulted whenever they like winked at each other, or did made some sign to each other that they didn't seem to agree with. It was very insulting to him. So in the end, so he had a dream, and in the dream, he saw them telling him this pasuk of that I'm going to destroy these three leaders. So the next day, when they were leaving him, he said to them, "You should go in peace." There's a discussion here exactly what he was saying to them. He was either saying to like praying for them to that that nothing bad should happen, even though it seemed like there was some negative thing in his dream. It sounded like something negative is going to happen to them. So he was giving them a blessing, or he was telling them, why don't you go somewhere else to another rabbi, go in peace and find another teacher, because if you stay here, it's going to it'll cause you maybe some punishment like I saw in the dream. So he was trying to save their lives. He told them, go in peace. But the thing is, it's a little questionable because we learned in brachas that there's a difference if you say lech lishalom or lech bishalom. And depending on what you say, there's a certain term that's said for someone who passed away as lech bishalom. And so therefore there's discussion here if the word on the third line of the Gemara on page 9b, if it should be Rab Bishleima or Lishleima. And if you read it Bishleima, that could mean that you'll leave me. No, it's not really death, but you'll leave studying with me, but you'll go somewhere, you'll find some other rabbi to study under, that you'll appreciate his teachings more, because you don't seem to agree with my way of thinking. So maybe you'll find someone else. So he was saying, Lech bishalom, go in peace. In other words, you'll end your studies with me, which is almost like what someone would say when someone passed away. But here it just means that you'll end your studies with me and you'll go somewhere else. An alternative way of understanding this, which does sound a little surprising, would be go in peace, which means that he was sort of like punishing them. Like you all through, you three, I saw, based on the fact that I saw this dream and I understand that you are all guilty of the disrespectfulness. And he was sort of
cursing them.
Well, I don't want to say cursing, but yeah, sort of like telling them,
Well,
you're all deserving of death. But yeah, I guess
Rabbi,
it
we've
doesn't
already
sound like
we've
that.
already seen this in the Gemara several times, which someone actually says something to and a rabbi turns around and looks at him, and we read later that in a year's time he passes away. So
So those Gemaras, yeah,
why would
I'll
this
tell
be
you the
any
difference.
different?
I'll tell you why. Those Gemaras is the rabbi was angry and Hashem decided to punish the person. Here it sounds like the man like it became personal, and he's punished. He's like wants to punish them. Whereas the other, so he looked at them with a negative face because he's angry. It was insulting, or he was insulted, but not that he's trying to punish them. Just happens to be when if you cause the rabbi to be angry, that could be a reason to be deserving of that they deserve punishment. But here it sounds like he himself is like personally wants to punish them, which just doesn't sound right. And that's why some change it to lishalom, or even if they say bishalom, it means go find another teacher, but not the death. But but there is such an option of learning that actually means that. But again, this would be different than other places. At least I see it that way.
Rabbi,
Yeah,
it could be also that not only that the person who's looking, but the person who's being looked upon is affected so much by the look that he passes away from that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that Rabbi Yochanan was trying to do damage to him, Chas v'shalom. He was
right.
looking in a severe way, and Reish Lakish was so affected by it that it caused him to pass away because of his perception of how he was being looked at.
Right, could be. So then the next Gemara was also along the same lines, where this Rav Shimi was in front of Rav Papa, and he used to ask him a lot of questions. And then he heard him when he was saying his Tachnun. He heard him say, "Hashem should save me from the embarrassment of Shimi," which meant that he was davening that I should know the answers to Shimi's question, Rav Shimi's questions. But Rav Shimi, hearing that, he decided better if I just be quiet, I don't ask anymore. The next Gemara we just started. It was the Gemara that we start. Let's just do it inside. I guess let's just start it again. The Gemara is 6 lines, 7 lines from the top of the page, 9b, 7 lines from the top. Va'af Reish Lakish Savar. Va'af Reish Lakish Savar. And I'll tell you in the art scroll, 9b, see which one it is, 9b. 9b1. 9b1, the second paragraph. Va'af Reish Lakish Savar, and also even Reish Lakish held Matar b'shvil yachid. Rain is for an individual, that Hashem will make it rain even if only one individual needs the rain. Reish Lakish also agrees with this. We said this earlier, that this was a statement on the previous page, that it was based on a pasuk, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, and he brought a pasuk, Yiftach Hashem l'cha. It says singular. Hashem will open for you his treasure, Itzarai Hatoiv, his good storage or his good treasure, to give you rain, to give your land rain. And it sounds like it's an individual over there. So here also, Reish Lakish also held that way. The Amar Reish Lakish, because Reish Lakish says, Minayin, how do you know L'matar b'shvil yachid, that rains for an individual, that it should dechsiv as it says, and he brings a different verse, Shalom Hashem matar be'ez malkosh, request from Hashem rain at the time of the malkosh, the later rains. Hashem oisa chazizim, Hashem makes clouds. U'matar geshem yitain lahem it leish esav basada, and Hashem will give them rain downpours. Leish, for a man, esav basada, grass in the field. So again, it's a poetic verse, and it's not always so easy to translate these verses. But the Gemara understands that it's hinting to this idea, at least Reish Lakish is expounding it, to mean that Hashem could rain even for one individual. Yachol HaKoil, I would think this means everyone is going to get rain. Talmud Leimer Leish, it says an individual is getting the rain. Vitanya, or is a question if you read this Vitanya or not. So it says Ila Ish, Yachol HaKoil Sadaisav, if it's just for one person, but maybe it's for a lot of his fields. Talmud Leimer Sadeh, but it says one field. That it could be even for one field, that Hashem will make it rain for even one field of one person. Isadeh, if it just says field, Yachol Kol Asadeh, I would think maybe it has to be for the entire field. Then Hashem will make it rain. Tamalemer Esav, even for an individual piece of grass. At least this is the way Tosfos learns. Even an individual piece of grass, Hashem will make it rain for. It's a little unclear if Rashi agrees with that, or Rashi learns that it doesn't mean one piece of grass. Maybe it means the way Rashi learned. The commentaries discuss this. But the bottom line is that it could rain. It rains even for one individual and even for a small area. Now, Kihad Rab Daniel Bar Katina, similar to the story of Rab Daniel Bar Katina, Havale Ginsa, he had a garden, and Yoimacha called Yoima have a Azal Vasayale. Every day he would go and he would examine. He would examine, look into it, and Hameshra by Maya, Hameshra loy by Maya. This furrow needs water. This one doesn't. This row, Meshra. This row doesn't need water. Vasa Mitra v'kam mashki kol echad mibayle Maya, and rain would come and it would water whatever needed water. Okay, Maya Hashem Moisach Chazizim. So the Gemara continues, and this is a new Gemara now. We're up to the new piece. What does it mean that Hashem makes chazizim? And we translated chazizim to mean clouds, even though it's not the normal word for clouds. Nanim would probably be more the more common word for clouds, but the verse, again, it's a poetic verse, and it uses this word chazizim. Hashem makes these clouds. So the Gemara is asking, what's the meaning of this, or why does it say it in plural? So Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Chanina says, Malamed shekol tzadik v'tzadik, Kadosh Baruch Hu ois lo chaziz b'fnei atzmai. Every righteous person, Hashem makes a cloud for him, for each person, for each of the tzaddikim. And my chazizim, and what is this word chazizim? Rabbi Yehuda, like what type of a cloud are we talking about? Rabbi Yehuda says it means the parchais, the flying clouds, which basically the Gemara will say into a few lines that it means the thin clouds. So it's the flying clouds, we're calling them.
Rabbi,
yeah.
He translated as thunder clouds.
Okay, that's the.
So maybe that's why it's different than the regular word that's used for clouds.
Well, we'll soon see. 1 second. So, Amar Rabbi Yochanan similar matter parchos. Similar matter is parchos. Like Rabbi Yochanan said that a sign for rain is having these parchos, these flying clouds. My parchos, what are these flying clouds? Rav Papa Eva Klisha. Rav Papa says it means a thin cloud. Tusi Eva Smichta, which is below, which is under a thick cloud. So they're called flying clouds because the other clouds are thick. It looks like these look like they go faster. So that's why they're called the parchos. I'm not really sure why he's saying that it means thunder. I didn't see that in commentaries on this on my other on my Gemara, but that's interesting that he says that.
Maybe it's to differentiate from the regular word that's used for clouds.
Oh, he's saying the simple meaning. Maybe he's translating it based on the simple meaning of the verse, of the commentaries on that verse, not connected to our Gemara. Maybe. Okay, that could be. Yeah. Anyway, so our Gemara says that this interesting thing that Hashem has for every tzaddik when he's born, like, or he comes to the world, he gets a certain chaziz, and Hashem makes for him this chaziz, some type of a a rain structure, some type of enclosement of rain, and he'll have it whenever he needs rain. Hashem makes chazizim.
Chazizim sounds like sparks.
So anyway, every tzaddik has the chazizim that he needs. It's an interesting point that the Gemara makes. Okay, so bottom line
is this word parachos? Is that related to parachos, or is that different spelling?
Different spelling.
Rabbi, I just looked in the dictionary.
Yeah.
Chaziz is a flash of lightning.
Okay, so maybe that's why.
I had a feeling that it means sparks, but.
But there must be another word for lightning. That's the only word for a flash of lightning.
Barak is lightning. Yeah, but chaziz is probably like smaller things.
Smaller lightning.
Yeah.
Like thunderclouds. Thunder and lightning go together. That's why it translates.
Lightning is a strong hit, but chaziz might be just smaller lightning.
Okay.
That's why he uses thunderclouds.
In any event,
a flash of lightning. That's all.
If you know what, if we really want, you could look it up in the original pasuk, where it talks about chazizim, is a pasuk in Zechariah, chapter 10. So we could check it up in Zechariah chapter 10 if you want to look it up. But I guess that's why he's translating it that way, David. Okay, so the Gemara continues.
It comes from chazut. Chazut is vision, so it's something you can see. That's all.
Yeah.
What verse?
Chapter 1, Zechariah chapter 10, verse 1. Well, you need to look up in the commentaries how they translate it there. Okay, so the Amar Rabbi Yochanan says that a sign, similar mutter, a sign for rain is parchos, is these clouds. In other words, when you see these thin clouds that are under thick clouds, you know that that's a sign for rain. The flying clouds. My parchos, Amrav Papa. Okay, we said that already. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Nehila Makami Mitra, Asi Mitra. The Rabbi Yehuda says that when you have Nehila, which means very light rain, like a drizzle. When you have a drizzle, so the Gemara, that's called Nehila. When it comes before the rain, Asi Mitra, then it means that heavy rain is going to come. Basar Mitra, what happens if you have a drizzle after rain? Pasik Mitra means the rain is about to stop. Makami Mitra, Asi Mitra, when it comes before rain, if the drizzle precedes the rain, then it means rain is going to come. Asi Mitra of a simnech, a sign for that situation would be mahoilsa, which is a sifter or a sieve, where the fine flour and the thick flour leave this sieve. First is the fine flour, and then comes the thicker flour falls through. So the same thing as the rain. The rain first comes light rain, and then comes a heavy rain. Now the Gemara says, the basar mitra, pasik mitra, the fact that when you have after a heavy rain, you have these drizzle, that means pasik mitra means that the rain is about to stop. That means it's a simnech, and a sign for that is charya de izi. It means the excrement of a goat. And that means that in the excrement of a goat, it comes out very thick. And then afterwards, it is, I guess, light or loose. So the same thing is with the rain, that it's that you have to understand in they were all shepherds, or they knew all about the animals. Then here we hardly know what a chicken looks like. We just know what it looks like in the store. But after it's shechted and slaughtered, and anyway, so that's the sign of the rain. Now, why the Gemara is telling us this is a very, deserves to be looked into. Like, what exactly are we gaining from knowing this? Of course, it's nice to know when you don't have a meteorologist. So nice to know if it's gonna be raining more, or if it's gonna stop. So it sounds like a nice thing to know, but is this really, how this is really connected for us as part of Torah for us to know, like what exactly were the rabbis saying with this? There obviously must be some deeper meanings to this. I don't know if Rabbi Steinsaltz has anything, David.
I was looking up the pasuk for Zechariah, chapter 10, verse 1. So it says, and he requests for rain from Hashem at the time of the latter rain. Hashem makes rain clouds, and he gives them rain for each person, grass in the field. So this sounds similar to what you were saying before, like for each person.
But it's chapter 11.
Yeah, I thought he said chapter 10.
Well, it's Yud Aleph, Zechariah.
No. It's chapter 10. No, you're right, David. Ezra, you're thinking about a different verse, the pasuk about the three leaders, and that Hashem made them, took them away in one
You're
month.
Right. I'm wrong.
But,
yeah, so you were saying about for each blade of grass or something?
Yeah. So our Gemara, so that's our Gemara's interpretation. Yeah.
Right. So here it sounds like it's individualized for each person.
Right. So that's what our Gemara is saying. It's based, the commentary that you're reading is based on our Gemara. So that's the way they're explaining it. Okay, wonderful. So now we are continuing on Daf Tes Amud Beis. We are, if you're in the art scroll, we are on 9b2. We have turned the page to 9b2 for those that have the art scroll. Ula ikla leBavel. Ula went to Babylon. Chaza parchais. He saw these type of clouds that are called flying clouds. Amar lahu panu mani. He said to everyone, clear up the vessels. Bring everything in. Dahash to Asi Mitra, because rain is about to come. The Saif lo Asi Mitra. In the end, it didn't rain. So Ula said, Ki hechi de mashakri bavloi, just like the Babylonians, they lie. Hachi mashakri mitrayu, their rain also lies. In other words, it gives inaccurate signs. In other words, you have to understand that the Chachamim had now gone into exile. This was these rabbis are the base of English was destroyed in the year 70, and these rabbis are somewhere between the year 300 and 200 and 500. So they're a few hundred years after the Gullus. So they were exiled to Babylon. So therefore they have a lot to say about the Babylonians. So one of the things about the Babylonians is that they're liars. So he says, just like the Babylonians lie, so too is their rain also gives a false impression. Now, it could be, if you think about it a little deeper, could be that the Gemara is emphasizing that what happens in the world has an effect above. So the fact that the Babylonians lie actually causes that the signs that you normally would rely upon are not valid, are not reliable, because since down here they lie, so therefore their signs in heaven are also not going to be reliable. So it's sort of like emphasizing this idea that everything comes from the what's done on earth, it has an effect in heaven. The Maharsha says along those lines, he says this similar thing. He says the Gemara before mentioned that people make pledges and they don't give them, so therefore he says that is what it's referring to here, that the fact that they make pledges in Bavel, they're guilty of this type of issue of making pledges and not paying, not fulfilling them. So he said that this causes this is the source of this problem. Okay. This is the source of the rain, of the clouds giving these false signals. Ula ikla Bavel. Ula went to Bavel. Chazi maloit sana ditbari bezuzah. He saw that you could buy a full basket, maloit sana, full basket of tamari, of dates. Bezuzah was being sold for a zuz. So that's how much a full basket of dates. That's like incredible. You could buy a whole basket of dates. It was sold for a zuzah. Amar, he said, Maloit Sina de Duvsha bezuzah. You get a whole basket of dvash, of honey, that sells for a zuz. Ubavloi, loy iski baraisa. And the Babylonians, they could, it's so easy. They could have one zuz, they could have a whole basket of honey, and they don't spend their time learning Torah. The things are so cheap. Or they don't have to spend their time making the honey. They could just buy it. Why don't they spend more time learning Torah? So then what happened was Belel Yatzaruhu, at night he realized that it wasn't exactly as good as he thought, because his stomach was causing him a lot of pain. Tzaruhu had a lot of pain. Amar, he said, Malait Sanad de Sakina Bazuzah. They actually are selling a basket of knives for a zuz. Ubavloi Oski Bairaisa, and the Babylonians have the ability to learn Torah. It's incredible. How could they even spend any time learning Torah with this type of stomachache that you get from having this food in Babylon? It's shocking that they're even able to find any time to learn Torah. In other words, they're buying these dates and eating them because they're cheap. But I'm impressed that they're even able to find any time to learn Torah. Then the Gemara continues and says, Tanya, we learned in a brisa. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Eliezer says, the entire world drinks from the waters of the okeanos, of the ocean. Okeanos, if you think about it, it comes from the word ocean. Or the word ocean comes from okeanos. What does that mean? Means that the water goes up from the okeanos, from the ocean, and it causes mist and precipitation, and then it comes down. Shenemar, as it says, it says vapor will go up from the earth, and it'll rain, it'll water the entire earth. So this is Rabbi Eliezer's view. He says, where the rain comes from? It comes from the ocean vaporizing and ultimately then causing the clouds to rain the same water that was from the ocean. Amalei Rabbi Yeshua said to him, how could it be that our water tastes good from the rain if you're telling me it's from the ocean? The ocean water is salty. It should be salty. So Amar Loi, Rabbi Eliezer said, it gets sweetened in the clouds. Somehow the clouds cause the salt to be filtered and or separated, and somehow it works out that it's not that it's sweet.
Can I ask? I have a question.
Yes.
I may be exhibiting my ignorance, but when they talk about the Babylonians studying Torah, the Babylonians were not Jews.
No, so the understanding is that it's referring to the community.
The Jewish community in
The
Babylon.
Jewish community, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Just wanted to make sure.
At least that's the way I understood it. I don't know. Yeah. Yes,
Rabbi?
Ben. Yeah.
They say that salt is used to get clouds to rain. So maybe the oceanus salt is used for that, and then it evaporates or used up in the water or something. I don't know.
So in other words,
when they say seeding the clouds, it's kind of a salt that they seeding the clouds with.
So somehow salt causes the rain.
Yeah.
So you're saying maybe it's somehow connected to this idea of the salt water somehow goes up, so it somehow awakens.
Salt water is used for rain, apparently.
That's interesting. Yeah. I guess this, would be interesting to have someone who knows, science well to learn these Gemaras. But anyway, the Rabbi Yeshua argues on this opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. He says, Rabbi Yeshua says, the entire world drinks water from the higher waters that are in heaven. There's heavenly waters. Shenemar, as it says, from the waters of heaven, the rain of heaven, tishta moyim, that's where you drink water. That means that it originates. It's not just that it's in the sky, but it's from the heavens. It's from the higher. When Hashem separated the waters, the higher waters is what we're drinking that water. Elamani Mekayim Ved Yalam and Art. So he says, what about Rabbi Eliezer brought a verse? The verse says that a vapor will go up from the earth. That sounds like that's where the rain comes from. So he says, Melamich Anonymous Gabrim Va'ilam the Rakia teaches that the clouds, they go up into the heavens, and but it doesn't mean that they take the water with them. It means they go up to the heavens, upaischen PM, they open their mouths, kinoid, like some type of a flask, a water skin, that umakablin may mutter, they get the rainwater from the heavens. As it says, yizaiku mutter laedai, they will pour the rain to its cloud. And what that means is that the clouds go up and the water, the rain is poured into them from the heavenly waters, and they have holes in them like a seed. And they come and sprinkle water on the ground. As it says, choshras mayim of a shchokim, that the choshras mayim, the clouds of the heavens, the ave shchokim, are a sieve of water is the clouds of the heavens. And the difference between each the separation, each drop, in between each drop, there's no more than a hair, the size of a hairbreadth. So that is where we'll stop. It's 11:01. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Sei gesund.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Good day, guys. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you,
Good day,
Rabbi.
See you guys tomorrow, God willing.
Bye. Thank you.